One day, as a 10-year-old, I was walking with my grandpa on the road outside our house. He was a proud, good man and met everyone with his warm, kind blue eyes. I knew I wanted to be like him. On the way back, as he held my tiny hand in his big, calloused one, he started to cry. I looked up into his eyes. I didn't know what to do, what to say. Someone had told me he was a World War II veteran and that his time as a soldier had a big impact on him. I just kept walking, holding his hand. When we got home, I told Mom and Dad that Grandpa was crying again. I joined the Canadian Armed Forces 13 years later. The soldier behind the counter asked me if I liked camping. I said I did, and he said, "I have the trade for you." He sat me down and showed me a video of soldiers, tents, and different types of vehicles doing training outside. It looked really interesting, and I was more of a physical person anyway, so I said, "Sign me up." I had no idea I was making Canadian history by signing up to be an infanteer, a woman in a combat role. At 23, I was considered a grandmother to all my other peers who were 18, 19, or 20 years of age. I worked as hard as I could and did everything that was asked of me. But I began to realize that there was always more asked of the females on the course. The standard was not the same. Then there was the abuse, the assaults, the harassments. The men didn't want us there. They were trying to show the world that women couldn't be in a combat role. I went into my training knowing the military wanted to break us down from being a civilian and then build us back up into soldiers. But with me and the women training for the front battle lines, they broke us down and purposely didn't build us back up. Over those 16 weeks, I could hear and feel the hate. And being a lesbian, I had an added layer of disdain. I was constantly threatened and slept with my bayonet in my bed. Of course, I didn't pass the basic infantry trade, and that began the cycle for the next 2 years. New course, abuse, harassment, hate, failing, repeat. The mission of the infantry soldier is to seek and destroy the enemy. But the enemy was in my lines. Guilt, shame, unworthy. I blamed myself for not passing, not protecting my female friends, or myself from harm. And after all of that, I kept going and eventually became a supply tech. Life was better. I worked harder than my male peers, but I also played hard as well. And like my grandfather, I didn't talk to anyone about my experiences. 18 years later, I was transferred back to the infantry, and everything I had endured came flooding back. Drinking in the military was very acceptable, and of course, it was something that I wholeheartedly took part in. I needed it to function, to survive, and I was very good at hiding. I had spent a career doing it. One morning, I had to report for my annual physical. A physician assistant looked at me with kind eyes and asked, "How are you doing?" I had been asked that question a lot, but this was different. There was something about her eyes. I could tell she actually cared, and I couldn't hide it anymore. Everything came out, and she heard me. Then she said, "We're going to tackle this one thing at a time." Against all odds, I now realize how incredibly strong and resilient I was to endure all that I did. Now, I greet others with kind eyes. like my grandfather did.